Our guest today started off in 2013 as a PT, building his business over 3 years out of 2 facilities. He then worked on cruise ships and within 6 months became the highest revenue earning trainer within the fleet. He has managed and mentored clubs within Pure Gym, as well as launching a property business in 2016 and most recently a hot tub provision and rental company. He has 2 amazing children in Charlie and Penny. He's possibly our favourite Geordie lad ever. We give you Dan Barratt. How are you, mate? I left that in there because I know you love that fucking nickname, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less, mate. Nothing less.
How are you? You all right?
Mate, I'm good, you know. I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Yeah,
How's things? You've been let out of the loft?
Just about, mate. Yeah, I've got me hour out of the loft today. But, yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Enjoyed lockdown. Just enjoyed spending more time with the kids. And yeah, it's good to get a bit of normality back in, mate. Yeah,
I bet it has been like a godsend, hasn't it? Like lockdown for you. Like,
oh, mate. Yeah, mate. Especially although the mental role's quality, best job I've done, but it's working away a lot, especially my region. So, like, I'll be going away Monday morning and then not back until like Thursday night. So both my kids are under, well, the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old. So just getting to spend more time with them and I suppose getting to know them really a little bit. So yeah, it's been good, mate. It's been good. I know a lot of people have struggled with it, but I've quite enjoyed it, to be fair. Can't complain. I know it's obviously a lot of horrendous things going on, but I can't complain too much. It's been a bit of a blessing.
Been getting all your graft on the house then as well, ain't you?
I've done a bit, mate. I know, mate. I don't think I've not done a 12-hour day for about 6 months now. It's been a busy period, but getting the end now, about 3 weeks and we should be in. So fingers crossed.
Mate. Yeah, fair play. Sounds good. So yeah, we'll probably dive in, mate, and just get you to talk us through a little bit of your journey. I think we were saying before, it'd be good for us to delve into the sort of cruise ship life. That's something we've not really spoke about. So I'm sure some of the PTs that are jumping on will be quite intrigued by that. But then some of the other ventures that you've set up, it'll be good to get an insight into them, like properties, how you even got into that and how you've moved through that and had the success you've had. And then now you just chuck people in water and watch them bubble for hours, don't you? So it's laughing. So go for it, mate. Go for it.
Wow. So started, as you said, in 2013 as a PT. I know everyone says it. I think it's a bit cliche that PT say that they struggled when they first started, but like, Jesus Christ, I think struggle's a bit of an understatement for when I first started. I remember like just coming out the qualification, not having any experience whatsoever, obviously, in the fitness industry, not having any life experience, I suppose. And I don't know if you boys went through the same thing, but looking around the PTs in the gym and just the quality was so high in that gym, and was coming, especially for the first couple of months, was coming so naturally to them and getting clients and building relationships with people. And especially in the gym that I was at, it was like a corporate gym on a business park. Like, I remember not only did I struggle to build a business, but just struggled generally to speak to members. Like, I found it so difficult. I think especially from my manager at the time, was like, right, weight loss, fat loss, that's your market. Let's go and speak to as many people who want fat loss and weight loss as you can. And I remember my conversations with those people were just so short. And like, as soon as they started talking about family, kids, work, anything that I just could, honestly, mate, like, well, you know what it's like, if you've not been there and done it, or not even that you need to have kids, you absolutely don't, but if you've got no understanding of that whatsoever, I had no kids in my family, I'd never been around that, and I'd never speaking to anyone that wasn't directly similar to me was just almost impossible. So majority of my clients at that time came from like profile and Facebook and Instagram and that, you know, at that time, and off because those type of clients, I didn't speak to them, I didn't approach them, I didn't know anything about them. Like, clients were literally coming in and coming out, selling blocks, doing all the kind of wrong things. And I suppose after a couple of months, I did start to get a couple of clients in my belt, but like I said, it was just in, out, in, out, in, out. And I thought, how can you make a career from this? How can I didn't know what was coming in, I didn't know what was coming out, I didn't know who was coming in, I didn't know what results people were getting. training people how I wanted to train. And I think I was at that gym for about 13, 14 months, something like that.
It's mad, mate, isn't it? Like, because like you said before, just not only not having an idea of what these people are trying to talk to you about based on your current situation, because back then you didn't have kids, you couldn't really relate on that level. But I think then as well, in the back of your mind, all you're thinking about is, I need to get this person as a client. So you can't really take a full interest, can you? Like, that's something that I struggled with. In the back of my mind, I was like, how do I lead this to, right, let's train together? And trying to understand where they're coming from. And I didn't have a clue like you did. And then trying to ask for money was difficult, mate. So as that time got on, how did you get to that point? Like you just said then, and things started to come a little bit more natural. How did that kind of work out?
Mate, 100%. I think that is exactly hit the nail on the head what my whole process was like. I can't remember the saying, and we went through it when we done the coaching workshop. It was, you ask questions you listen to ask your question. But I can't remember what the phrase is, but you've almost got that question in your head, and you know what you're going to ask regardless of what that person's saying, and you're not listening to them.
Yeah, you're listening to answer rather than listening to understand, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was me, to be honest, mate, not just that year period, that was me for probably 3-4 years, especially the first 3 years of just not really listening at all to what people say. It's just, right, I know what I want from this conversation. I want to get this person to, X, or I want to give them a taste of sex, and I want to do this, I want to do that. I not understand the person at all. And mate, like, I'll answer your question, Martin. It wasn't until I had kids, really, to be brutally honest. I think at that time there wasn't the level of support that was there, but my manager at the time, a good friend of mine now, he'd never been a PT. There wasn't really as much of an emphasis on PTs building a business, and the support wasn't nowhere near what it is now. And it wasn't until after cruise ships, really, to be fair, mate, and you kind of pushed. I don't know if we'll go into it, but the environment that you went on cruise ships is like, you sink or swim. You've got to learn fast. And I was lucky enough to get put with an extremely experienced PT on the ship that I was on, and learned pretty well a lot of stuff from him, essentially.
Yeah, I think that whole life experience thing is quite a massive one, isn't it? Really, when you're speaking to members on your gym floor, or if it's a private, however that looks, wherever it is that you're looking to build your business from, especially when you're coming at it at quite a young age. Like, I was 17 when I came into the industry, and probably quite similar. It was a squash and tennis club that I worked at, so a lot of people were very corporate, had their own businesses, had lots of time because they had businesses that were earning stupid amounts of money, so they could just knock a little yellow ball around all day. And then you had me from a council estate coming in there, like, how do I even start a conversation with these people? Do you know what I mean? Because they're just going to be looking down then, or in my mind anyway, they're just going to be looking down their noses at me. And that wasn't even necessarily the case. Once you start to have the conversations and stuff, like you say, you build that rapport and people get to know you a little bit more. And some of them aren't even from the backgrounds that you think they would be from. But like you say, when you're so young and you don't have that life experience, it's tough to think and find that mutual ground, or that one thing in common that you can build out. So for me, like I say, working in a squash and tennis club, I never really played tennis. I played tennis at school a little bit, and on a council estate car park where we just whacked balls at each other, but nothing to the level that these that were playing at. But my nan was always into Wimbledon, so I started to watch that with her and like try and understand it a little bit more, and then take that into work and just try and find a way really of creating that sort of connection with them. But it is tough, isn't it? It is very, very tough. Like you say, when you've been so young without having those experiences yourself. I suppose it's between all of us, what do you think would be a good shout to go and start to find those connections with people? How did we go about doing it?
Mate, I think like exactly what you've said. If you try and have a conversation with someone that you know nothing about, is difficult. If you've got nothing to resonate or nothing to speak about, then what are you going to speak about, if that makes sense? My advice, and this is what I say in every foundation training and to all the PTs that I've ever worked with, is if you don't have anything to relate with the market that you want to work with, you need to go out your way to understand them and find some way of relating with them. Because if you can't, those conversations are just not gonna go anywhere.
I think that's quite a deep one, isn't it? Like, you don't necessarily have to be able to have been in that position to create an understanding of it if you genuinely care enough to want to understand and to build that picture out and to, I suppose, ask the questions, isn't it? Like, it's all about asking and as you said, listening to understand rather than just listening for the sake of listening. Like, if you ask those questions and want to understand what that individual's gone through, what they've experienced, how they feel, then that is just going to build out. And then you'll start to be able to notice the trends and the correlations between similar sorts of people, I suppose. But not, yeah, bang on, I agree.
I think as well, once you start to do stuff like that, or once you start to take an interest in what they're actually saying, a friendship starts to build. And then from that, you feel more confident and comfortable to then ask more questions and maybe dig more on like the feeling, like the reason why they've walked in the gym in the first place. And then that leads to them asking questions about maybe nutrition or different types of training methods. Whereas, like all three of us have gone through right at the very start, that's something that didn't even come into our mind. It was just, I need to get this person into my business because I need to make money. And then I'm going to train them the way I like to train because I know that works. Whereas as soon as you start to understand, like three of us have just said, as soon as you start to understand and build up a bit of a rapport with that individual, everything they're talking to you about is something that you've got an interest in. So then more comes from that, doesn't it? So, and then that's what helps. That's what helps then. I think that's what helps me. That's what helped me go from really struggling, like most of us do at the start, to then getting to a point where I can speak to anybody, and the conversation will always revolve around a feeling, or how they're feeling, or how they've come to the point of walking in that gym in the first place. I try and always kind of move it towards that, so it becomes the feeling. Mate, how did you get from working in the gym to then going, you know what, I'm all about cruise ships? Because I couldn't think of anything worse than in a choppy seas for all day. How did that come about?
Mate, well, I remember when I first applied, not applied, but when I first rang, I'd done my training course with the training room. And first conversation when I inquired about my level 3, the guy, he was asking about opportunities, and the training room at the time had, I think they still do, had a lot of links with a lot of different gyms, and cruise ships was one of them. I remember him saying it and just thinking, like, cruise ships, like, could you imagine? And I remember I'd done that stint at Pure Gym, and I think I was just so frustrated at that gym because, like I said before, I really struggled to keep a hold of clients, like really struggled. I think, like from what we said before, you know, relationship that I had with them, training them, not how they wanted to be trained. And I remember I think I lost like 3 clients in a day, and I was just like, right, let's have a look at this cruise ships. And yeah, I just applied online, and then I don't know if you know anyone that have been on cruise ships, but it's quite a difficult process to get in and get on. So I applied, and if you apply, you usually do get like an interview. It's like a group interview type thing. So I remember going down to Leeds, and there's like 27 PTs and like 20 odd sport therapists, and we're like put into a big room. And the first hour, you've just got to stand up in the group and just talk about yourself. And I think that by that, you know, that just whittles people out. I think out of those 27, there was like 3 of it that got put into London, and that's like the second stage, I suppose, where you're in London for 4 weeks, and it's just like a big selection process, really. You've got, well, there's loads of Styler, who's the company that heads up cruise ships. They put PTs into like Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Carnival. So there's loads of different ships, and obviously depending on how big the ship is, how expensive the ship is, where the ship itinerary is. So if it's the UK, America, Australia, there's different types of revenues to be made, and obviously the affluency of the members of the ship is different in all the ships. So depending on how you perform in that 4 weeks, you either get put on a huge ship in a really affluent area or affluent guests, or you get put on a tiny ship in the UK when people have got no money. So I was fortunate enough to, well, I remember, to be fair, there was like the first couple of days, the guy who was kind of our tutor for that 4 weeks, he giving with a spiel of how much money you could make, and this is how much money the PTs were making. And I remember he was showing us this ship, which was the Norwegian Jewel, right? And there was a guy called Wes who, I think he was in the top 5 across the whole of the fleet, and he'd been in ships for like something ridiculous, like 17 years or something like that. And I remember just seeing his name, and he'd make something ridiculous. I can't remember what it was that week. And that was the only ship that I remember, the Norwegian Jewel and Wes. And I remember it was all 3.5 weeks. We just finished yoga training.
Go on, son.
Mate, so as part of your role on ships, you've got to teach yoga and Pilates. So you're meant to get a day's training in yoga and Pilates, but halfway through the yoga training, I got my call for my ship, and it was I was the first one to get it. And I remember like the guy came in all like on the floor. He's like, Dan Barratt, and I'm like, what? Your ship's ready? I'm like, what? And everyone, I was the first one to get picked, and everyone's like, blah blah blah, giving us hugs, because you're with people for 3-4 weeks, so you meet some, build some good relationships. And I remember them giving us they sat us down in the office. They give us like the sheet of where I was going. I was flying to JFK in New York, the airport, and then flying to Seattle, and there's Norwegian Jewel, and I was like, I'm going on this ship. In my head, it was the best ship making the most money. And yeah, mate, that was it. Bang, straight on a plane. They obviously paid for everything, and then rocked up to the ship the next day.
Fair play. How was it? So going in there, that must have been quite a different environment for you to walk in compared to like a commercial gym. Like, how does it all work when you're out there, when you're on the ships? Because it's something I've never even seen or heard of or known much about. So how does it work when you're over there?
So I remember rocking up on the first day, and like just the people on ships, like I met some unreal people, but it's so different to what I was used to. Like everyone's so extra. Like it's full of dancers and singers and spa therapists, and majority of them aren't from the UK. And like America's obviously very different to the UK. The people are very different. And I remember like the first 6 weeks, I'm going back to like speaking to people and building relationships, like struggled so much. Not only because literally no one could understand a word I was saying.
Language barrier.
Yeah, mate. That's another story. But yeah, just so different, mate. I was so different to, at the time, everyone. Well, I felt that I was so different to everyone. So like, I really, really, really struggled. Apart from Wes, who was the other PT who I got on well with, and had similar interest, I suppose, from the PT side of it, and had stuff to speak about. That initial first 6 to 8 weeks, well, definitely the first 6 weeks, I remember like getting on. I hadn't set my bank account up because I didn't know where I was going. I could have been in Europe or anywhere. My bank account didn't know I was going over there, so I didn't have any money. Had to like lend money off people and stuff for the first couple of weeks until you get like Ocean Pay, which is your international card, until that was set up. I remember just going from like a lad and being like huge group of mates, always out, and just being so far out of my comfort zone. It was unreal. Like not having much to speak about, and not knowing how to make money. Like you asked before, what it's like being a PT. It's like huge selling. You do a very limited amount of PT, and it's just selling, speaking to people, doing seminars, selling products, doing yoga, Pilates, that kind of stuff, mate. It's tough, and it's so different to what I was used to. And yeah, really, really struggled for the first.
Mate, was there a point where you thought, because this would be me, this isn't for me, this. Do you know what I mean? And what point did you go, no, actually, I'm going to carry this out? And what made that change? What made that mindset change? If that was what you thought?
Yeah, I think I felt that every single day for the first 6 weeks. Every single day. I remember the first day, like going into the spa, and it's like there was one English girl who was like, she was in a relationship, so she was like, she never came out, no one ever seen her. And the rest were like, at the time, I think I was a bit unlucky as well, because there wasn't any majority like Filipino people, and who I obviously didn't have anything in common with, and those conversations were really difficult. And I remember the first day, like meeting everyone, not really gelling with people, and then going out to I don't know if you've seen the gyms on cruise ships, but it's like on the top floor, it's like one side of the wall is all glass, so you're looking out. It's like amazing views. I remember just like looking over the barriers and just being not upset, but just like, what have I done? So out my comfort zone. And remember, it was in Alaska, and there was like, I looked down and there was like a shark chasing like a little fish. And I remember just being like, I've got to stick this out. This is such an unbelievable experience. I can't just, because people do, like, it's such hard work. People just wrap it in on a daily basis.
It's quite deep, that, isn't it? Like that shark and the fish, because it's almost symbolism, isn't it? Like I'm going to be one of those two.
Yeah.
Which one am I going to be? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fair play. Like, so then you started to obviously turn it on its head. You started to see success. How did that come about? What sort of triggered that?
So, like I said, I was with Wes, who was like, he's such an experienced guy at doing it. And for your first couple of weeks, you just shadow him. So he was doing the seminars. I was just at the back writing notes. And then off the back of the seminars, you do consultations where you basically just sell to them. And he would, over the first couple of weeks, give me a few consultations and get better at blah, blah, blah. And I remember the seminars are tough, man. It's like an hour of just speaking and speaking and speaking. And I'd do, so you used to have like the first sea day, which is obviously everyone's on the ship. It's the busiest one because everyone comes and you've got like 40 people. And that was the one where you've got to do well because that's where you're going to make your money. And then on the last day of the 7-day cruise, there's a port day where everyone's off the ship, but there's still a seminar on and you get like 5 to 10 people come. So I used to take those for the first couple of months. And just, yeah, not only could no one understand us, but the content was so hard to learn. I remember every night just recording them, just sitting in my bed, just watching it, because I knew that in 4 months' time, he was going to be off and I had to do it for myself, and I would get someone else on who might be experienced, but might be a complete novice like I was. So I remember just studying. And because he was making so much money and doing so well, and you wonder, obviously your manager is targeted on what we make, like a huge volume of the revenue comes from us. So if you mess up, like you probably got 2 to 3 weeks of doing bad before they put you on a tiny ship. Like you'll get turfed to 1,000 passenger ship in Europe or something like that.
Mate, how long did he stay on the ship for? Like in terms of the
10 months.
10 months.
10 months straight, yeah.
So you've got that clientele for 10 months.
No. We stay on the ship for 10 months.
Right.
But the passengers are every 7 days.
Right.
Wow.
Because then if you think about the service that we build currently now for clientele,
opposite.
This is just like, I mean, how did you manage that? How did you make that? How did you make that work?
Oh mate, so like I remember, so the day he left, and that was my first sea day, first seminar, and I remember like being, honestly, I've never ever been so nervous to do something in my entire life. And it was still in Alaska, and Alaska's like an extremely, like if you're a PT on a cruise ship, you want to be in Alaska because it's the most expensive cruise you can do. And I had like a couple of weeks left of Alaska, and the targets were still so high. And I remember doing this seminar, mate, right, and like almost crying at the end of it because I wanted to get the money so much. And like that was when I think it was 4.5 months in, and that was the most that was the most successful week that ship had ever had. I was that week off the back of that seminar, I was top place in the whole of the fleet. In second place, I was like double. I remember just being like I felt like all of that 4 or 5 month period just led to that one more, and I was just such a weight off my shoulders. And then
it just clicked.
Oh mate, yeah. I think it was just I grafted so hard for it, and I was so like, I can't remember I wish I could remember. You finish like your seminar on, it's like a close, like you close the seminar, and I can't remember it. I'll see if I can remember by the end of the call. But and you're like, it's a bit like emotional, and you've got to say like, if you want to change your life, then come and meet us at the back, and blah blah, something along those lines. And like people were bubbling, people are generally bubbling in the.
Mate, that's that other bit because of your passion. That
It was. Honestly, it was. I remember like being teared in my eyes, and like there was like a lady right in the middle, and she was like wiping her eyes, and then bang, she was like, she darts off, and she's the first one at the back. I remember like you're selling products. The products are shit, but you're selling products. Mate, people were paying like $3,000, $2,000 for these products. So like you've got to smash it, and that's why
I think the big thing there, like something that got mentioned to me, obviously being at LA, that was very, very. It was a gym. It was a sales job dressed up as a gym, basically. Like there's no two ways about it. In my mind, anyway, coming from the background and the delivery that I had as a PT, going into there, it was sales dressed up as a gym. But I always remember one thing being told to me, and that's just sparks it off there, is that you sell, like when you're actually selling, like hard selling, you sell on emotion, and then you get the person who's sat opposite you to back it up with logic. Do you get what I mean? Like if you go and buy a new car, you don't buy the car because it does X amount of miles to the gallon because the boot's fucking big. You buy the car because you feel like the man when you buy the car. And then you justify it with all the other stuff. And that's probably very similar. Like that emotions come through. You've been able to put that across. And then they're like, right, I need this. And now I'm going to justify it with this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason in my head to go and give Dan Barratt fucking all my money, basically.
The mad thing is from a cruise ship perspective, or from their perspective, whether you think it's right or wrong, you went through a 4-month period of building yourself up to this point where you needed, and you was emotionally charged to make this work. Do you know what I mean? And if you think about that type of product, they got Dan to that point where he was like, the emotion come out, the room felt it, and they all signed up. Do you know what I mean? Whether they intentionally meant to do that or not, got you to that point, and then got the clientele exactly to that point. And whether we agree with it or not, that was the turning point for everybody in that room, including yourself. From there, then, mate, what happened then? Like when you was going into the next ones, what went from there?
I think that pressure. I've never ever been under that pressure ever again. I don't think, but me getting myself through that and doing that and performing, like, just give me so much confidence. I don't think not just from a selling point of view, but confidence with my team at the time, because if you do well, your team hits your target, and if the team hits the target, then they get more days off. So that was like on my head because I'd done that, and like went from not really having. Well, at that point, I did start to build a few relationships, but really started make a bit of my name for myself on the ship and across the fleet, really, because you get sent through like a table, and my name was at the top, and remember, like, that was up on the staff, like the office wall for ages, and yeah, I think that was the real game changer for me on the ship. And I think coincidentally, there was a few people, like a few English people that came on board, and like my experience from them was a lot better and a lot more positive, definitely. And yeah, the seminars were class. Really started to make some really good money. And yeah, it was class, mate. It was really good.
So how does it work for you? So obviously they buy the products, so the clients buy the products, and then is it like commission based, or how does that? Yeah.
So you basically, I think it worked out at about 10% you something you get, and you've just basically got a sell throughout the week, and then on the last, when everyone gets off, you essentially get paid on a weekly basis. But like PTs listening that are thinking about it, it was the hardest work I have ever done in my entire life. Like, your first class starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you can be doing consultations until 8 o'clock at night, especially on sea days. But if you're looking for something where you literally see the world, like my itinerary was, I started off in Alaska, done Seattle, went down to LA, done the Mexican Riviera, went down to Miami, through the Panama Canal, done like Colombia. Mate, it was the best experience that I've ever done, but also the hardest. And I think if you're looking for something to turn yourself into a man or a woman, basically, then there's no better place, no better.
I think that's probably quite a good point to get over, really, because I think, well, I'm sure we've all spoke to PTs that want to go and head off on cruise ships, and they almost think that it's an easy thing, don't they? Like you stand on a ship and you just travel around and see all the sites. But like you said there's so much more to it, and there's so much more work behind it. And I think that's probably a massive takeaway for anyone listening, that actually it's really, really rewarding. You get loads from it, but you've got to work for it. What was the main sort of things that you took from that then when you went back into coming back into the commercial world?
Main things that I took from it, I think putting myself out of my depth was such an important thing for me as a person. And I think I took so much confidence from that. And off the back of doing that as well, and literally having to sell, I found it a lot easier for me to make conversations with people. And I think putting yourself in an environment where you don't know nobody at all, is such a good thing to do for any person. And from a confidence point of view, it's class as well. And obviously, I met my missus on there, and then came back. I remember coming back off cruise ships, ready to go back on. My missus, I'll obviously live in Newcastle. My missus lives in Morecambe, it's near you, Martin, site near Lancaster, and ready to go back on. And then she's pregnant, so didn't have. I had a bit of savings from cruise ships, but obviously didn't have a job because I was looking to go back on. Didn't live with her, so she lives in Morecambe, I lived in Newcastle. I remember just being so embarrassed. Like I've done this. I've got a girl pregnant, working away, no money, no nothing. Didn't have a house, obviously, and then I think that was such a huge point of my life, definitely.
It's no wonder that you made so much money if that's how your consultations ended up, mate.
Oh, mate, I could write a book, mate.
Fair play. No, that's brilliant. But like even then, so that's kind of your next step, isn't it? And I think it would be good for us to touch on like your side businesses, almost what's created the need to get into that, and then how you found those. So if touch on them, mate. Talk us through it.
So obviously, meet my missus when fell pregnant. Obviously, a priority for me now is to make money, and to I think my mindset then was I need to get a house. So I remember going back as a PT, and off the back of learning how to sell, like the clients came a lot easier, so too quickly, if I'm honest. I remember going from 0 to like 18, 19 sessions a week in 2.5 weeks. So it was like so quick. And that was almost came a little bit easier to me off the back of the ships, because I was so used to selling. And I remember still at the time, I couldn't keep a hold of them, and especially going from that amount of sessions to that so many sessions, that just gave me another bundle of problems that I just couldn't deal with, because in all honesty, like, wasn't the greatest coach at all, like far from it, to be fair. So I remember I keep losing clients. I just thought, right, I need my manager at the time offered management. So went into management, still saving up, still kept quite a lot of clients on, and going into the side business. So I remember having enough money saved up for over the course of, 13, 14 months, me and my missus. My missus obviously moved up. And one of my best mates, Ross, he's an estate agent, and he'd done a couple of properties. I remember him saying, like, why don't you use that money that you've saved up and buy something that's a little bit run down and make a bit of money on it? Because at that time, Ross had done a couple, and he was making like silly money, really silly money, and almost to the point where you just didn't believe him, because none of my mates had done anything like that. And especially because he was an estate agent, like, he was very clever on what he was buying, and properties with a bit of money in it, etc. And I remember he sent us this property. I went to go and see it, and I didn't get it. Actually, I didn't get that property. I remember just thinking, right, I'm just going to buy a property, blah, blah, blah. And he went, try this one. This one came up. And I went to go and see it and got that property. And then it was just, I literally couldn't hang a picture on a wall, mate. Like, couldn't do anything. So no DIY, couldn't do anything. And I remember I think it was the same thing, going back to like the cruise ships and having that like mindset of I need to get it done. And because I knew I needed to make money and I needed to like put a roof over my kids' heads, just getting stuck in and just doing like 12-hour days straight from work, going in and doing the property. And yeah, it just went from there really. I had that property for 3.5 months, sold it, made a bit of money on that, done that again. It's very similar property in the same area, so I knew what I was doing. Really similar spec of the property, it was pretty much like for like, so everything that I'd done from that one was done at the same. And yeah, it just went from there.
Did you, because I know you do quite a lot of the work and stuff now, don't you, mate? So was that always the case, or have you had to bring people in, and how's that changed over the period of time where you've got more experience? I'd presume your costs have come down versus what you spend in and whatever else.
Yeah.
How's that gone, mate?
So the first one I tried to do, I done bits. So what I done was initially I got quite a few people in over the first month, and I think because I was spending so much money on it and didn't have much money, I was just watching them all the time, like probably a bit of a pest to be fair, but just watching and taking as much in as I possibly could. And then over the course of that property, I was doing more and more and more and more. And then it got to the second one, and I've done loads of it myself and saved probably 4 or 5 grand easy on that property by just doing a lot more myself. And I think especially on that property as well, I don't know if you know much about like property game and business, but I remember learning so much from that property itself because they were so similar. And because I made a decent amount of money on my first one, I almost thought I could buy anything, spend work on it and make X amount of money. And that one took quite a bit of time to sell. I had quite a lot of issues with it. And I think if we talk about like life lessons and learning stuff, I learned more on that second one absolutely than I did of the other 2 combined, because so much went wrong. Took myself, because I was doing more and more things were going wrong, and I was trying stuff and it wasn't working, and there was a leak or blah blah blah. And yeah, I think it's why I just love at the minute just trying new things. And even if you fail at it, I feel like I'm such a positive person now where you can just see the positive in that. And I've messed that up, but what has that really done to me? Like, has it really affected much? And what have I learned from that? And I think of doing that so many times, I've learned like, now put me in a property and I can do 70% of it from start to finish of just doing 3. And if I was doing that full time, I know I could make a living from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, mega. And I think that's probably quite a massive one, isn't it, for any industry or anything that you're going into. At some point, you're going to put a post up about it yesterday, like you're going to feel uncomfortable, but then over a period of time, like everything that we do now, at one point was difficult for us to do, right? But the more you like, even down to walking, like as a kid, fucking hell, you struggle with that, didn't you? But you pick it up the amount of times you keep trying. So I think that's massive for anyone going into any industry. Like, you are going to feel uncomfortable, you are going to feel nervous, you are going to feel fear, and you just got to do it anyway. What comes with fear, Mark?
Mate, I forgot what it was now.
It was a quote and a half as well. Fucking made a post about it and all.
The baddest thing is it was my quote, wasn't it? Bravery.
That was it, mate. Yeah, it was good. That it was a good one. That.
Go back to the point where you was on the cruise ship and you see the shark chasing the fish, mate. That must always come back to you when something shakes you up or something hits you, and then do you get what I mean? That'll kick back in, and then you'll be like, you know what, actually.
Yeah, I think over the course of my career, especially over the past 6 or 7 years, I put myself in that position of being almost out of my depth so many times. Like, everything that I've done, I've always been the youngest doing it. Always. I think it's because I've looked at cruise ships. Like, I was one of the youngest on the whole ship. Like, I couldn't even buy a drink because I wasn't 21. Had a big red stripe through my card because I couldn't buy a drink. Managers in Pure Gym, I think I've got to be one of the youngest, like 20 years old. I think just I'm a bit obsessed with putting myself back in that situation and being out my depth. Even like Martin, we've talked about it a few times. Remember the first ever champ meeting?
Yeah.
Remember? sitting in that room and like
all three of us felt like that as well.
Yeah.
100%. Like being in a room with like such huge personalities, like even, and obviously at the Nick, but Johnny Bergreave, like that guy from Southampton, forget his name. Sam Porter.
Lucy Chadwick, like
Chris Davidson,
yeah.
Huge personalities, and like I remember just sitting there thinking, fucking hell, like how
have I got in this room? That's what I was fucking thinking, mate. I was like, what's going on here?
But like how, like speaking on behalf of all, we're like being in that position and being around people where you're learning so much, and like a lot of the meetings that we have, even now, just sit there and like just listen, just try and take as much, because you're learning so much from a lot more experienced people. And I think I've done that in so many avenues of my career, but even in management positions where you're out of your comfort zone, you're out of your depth, you're working with PTs who, you know, you're managing huge personalities. And I've done that so many times. And I think because I've done that so many times, that's been a huge part in the result of my whole career, definitely.
I think that's a big one for me is, like you said there, the personalities sometimes, because they are so such big personalities and put themselves out there and come across so confident, which is originally like I'm quite quiet, like quite introverted usually. So for me, I'm sitting there like, wow, these people must know exactly what they're fucking on about, because they ain't shy in saying it. Do you know what I mean? But then over a period of time, you think, right, okay, like maybe I just come at it from a different angle. Do you know what I mean? And then your confidence starts to grow. And like you say, you pick bits up and then you realise that actually you've done some decent stuff yourself, which other people might not have done. And as you said there, that just grows your own confidence and allows you to move forwards. But yeah, it's mad, isn't it, when you see some of these guys and you're almost in awe because of their personality and their confidence is so big. But I think, like, again, for anyone listening as a takeaway, that doesn't necessarily, like, it's not the be all and end all if you aren't that sort of personality, is I think what I'm trying to get at. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, the mad thing is, in that meeting before we went in, I got told, like, you're probably you're one of the least experienced in the room, mate. So just sit and listen. I got told that before we went in, so I just sat there like, sweet. What do I do now, mate? Honestly, yeah. I remember when I was on my way down there. I'm not going to say you said it to me.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mark, can you remember walking to the train station after that? Me and you together.
Yeah. It was me and you, wasn't it?
Fucking hell, I remember just being like, Jesus Christ. Because it was like, wasn't it a bit of like an interview thing as well, wasn't it? We were going down for an interview.
Yeah,
I remember they asked us to,
yeah,
but we didn't end up doing it. They didn't. I don't think asked us to. Yeah, mate. That was a nerve-wracking time again.
Fucking hell, mate. I walked off on my own because I was in my own head, just questioning myself. I was like, "Fuck you, what's going on here?" I swear, literally, I was just like, my head was blown. Nah, it's good though.
If you go back now and you look at that, I think there's only three of us that was from the original group that have gone all the way through.
Chris Davidson as well, mate. Yeah.
Mad journey as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we've all AGM. I don't think there was even many GMs left. We bought all AGMs, weren't we? At the start.
Yeah.
I remember them all being GMs or C or custom, or what was it, SGMs at the time.
Yeah. And it was just all the AGMs sat there like, what? This is a good day now. And then two or 3 years later, we was all in an apartment in the middle of London. Ready for a mental meeting.
We made it.
Fucking hell. I swear, I still get grief about that fucking week away now, to be fair.
I was the one that bought the room, the apartment.
Oh, man, that was a
tripping off, that was, mate. I still think about them breakfasts every fucking day, mate. Unreal, them breakfasts were there.
It really was.
No, it's good, mate. So just obviously bits and pieces on properties there. Just probably a quick one to touch on is your new venture, mate, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but to be fair, very early days. My mate who I've done, he's done properties with, and we've got quite a similar attitude from a business point of view. We've started with a bit of a hot tub company, so buying hot tubs and renting them out. I think especially in this period where the gyms aren't open and the pubs aren't open, people are in the house a lot more and don't want to go out. So yeah, set that up 3 weeks ago. And started off with 1 hot tub 3 weeks ago, and we're buying with 6th. So
wow.
It's went ballistic, mate. To be fair, really, really busy.
You've got the van as well, haven't you?
What's that?
You've got the van.
Mate, yeah, bought a van. I think we're gonna have to take someone on. It's been mad. So yeah, I think I'm just really the thought of being self-employed. Like, I love what Pure Gym's done for me over the years has been massive, not just from a financial point of view, but from experience point of view and building relationships. But I think my end goal absolutely is to be self-employed and to run my own business and to just really make some really good money. So yeah, that's the plan. So
yeah, I think we're all quite similar in that sense. And I don't, just thinking about it then, I don't know if it's going back to obviously when you first start as a PT and you are self-employed, like it is you, and you kind of get used to that, don't you? And then you go through a period of employment, and then it's never quite the same, is it? Like, it's never quite right. I want to do this because I want to do it, or there's always a little bit of something behind what it is that you've got to do. So yeah, definitely, I think that'll be good, mate, and I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I don't know about you boys, but there's no more of a motivation than working for yourself and making your own money. And like, obviously, worked extremely hard within Pure Gym over the past X amount of years, but the motivation you get from being self-employed, and like, even looking at the PTs that we work with when they first start, like, you can see just there, I've got my own business, I've get my logo, I'm getting my business cards, like, you can see the passion in their heads. And I think getting that back over the past 3 weeks has been class. Although obviously you've done it over the past couple of years with properties and stuff, that's been a bit of a slow process, but this has been, yeah, really, really enjoyed it, mate. Really good.
I think that's another one though, isn't it? Obviously, if you are looking to go into that sphere, for me anyway, in my mind, having those different revenue streams and those different incomes, like if we were to ever face a pandemic again, that's something that really everyone should probably take away, because if you've lost jobs or you've been furloughed and your furlough pay is not quite enough, and having those different revenue streams, some of them that you can get others to look after is unreal, isn't it? So no, amazing, mate. Like, some really good stuff.
Sounds me. I'm buying when I get back from holiday. I'm buying 2, mate. 100%.
Honestly, boys.
You got, hey, mate, there's a franchise opportunity there. Just saying.
He did say you take someone out there.
No, bad. No, class. We normally finish up with a little bit of fun Q&As, or just to get a little bit more of about you outside of work, really, mate. So we'll go with the first one, Mark, if you're ready.
Yeah, dinner guests it is. So
he's a freezing.
Oh, we're freezing. We're all right on our side. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate.
Right. Yeah. Three dinner guests. You're hosting a dinner party. You can bring 3 guests, past or present. What three are coming and why?
My 3 guests. I'm gonna be quite boring. Tyson Fury, definitely.
Oh yeah.
He's not boring though, mate.
Nah, but I think what he's done he's obviously a massive elitist and he's extremely good at what he's done, but what he's done from getting from where he was to where he's back to now he's inspired a lot of people. I think he's definitely he's a character as well to be around, isn't he? Probably Conor McGregor as well. For just the banner.
What a table already that
I know, mate.
I know, mate. I think I'm
the third one better be a referee, I reckon.
And who would Matt? Oh, mate, you know my last one would be Eddie Hall.
Eddie Hall.
Shout.
Yeah. If you've ever watched his documentary, have you watched it?
No.
He's done a documentary of basically his life, and I don't know how he's always had cameras through, but he has. And just how confident that guy was that he was going to be the strongest person on the planet. Like, how confident, and what he's done to get there is just so, honestly, mate, it's worth a watch. It's really good. Similar to Conor McGregor's as well. Conor McGregor's done done a similar one. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah.
But he's like, there's nothing in his mind that's stopping him and getting to that position, and he obviously does get there and retires. So yeah, those three definitely.
Decent, mate. Good shout. So then the next question is, you've got your three guests. You're gonna have to feed them now. Fuck knows how you're gonna do that with Eddie Hall, mate. So 3 courses, starter, main, dessert. What you going for and why?
Is this me or my guests?
Yeah, well, for your guests, you're serving it. You haven't necessarily got to cook it. If you can cook it, great. But what's your choices and why?
You can be selfish, mate, and you can just choose what you like.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Mate, I love a bit of calamari. To start. But I had some calamari, like me. My missus went out last night and I had some calamari and it was shit. So I'm tempted to change it. No, I'll stick with calamari. Mate, a lasagna probably.
Lasagna.
Yeah, I love a fucking lasagna. It's a boring choice, isn't it? But I fucking love a lasagna. And dessert, sticky toffee pudding, hot sticky toffee pudding with a bit of ice cream on the side.
My missus, that's what my missus is shout that or what she'd choose. Yeah.
There's a place up mine called the Woodman's Arms. If you're ever in my neck of the woods, I'll take you. It's the best. It does the best. Oh mate, I'm gonna change the lasagna actually. Pie and chips. Pie and chips.
You know what? Pie and chips is a shout. It's like one of them ones where you get it from the chippy, but if you go to a restaurant or you go to a pub and get pie, mate, near me there's a cheese and onion pie, the world famous cheese and onion pie and chips, mate, unreal.
Yeah, unreal. Mate, this pie is it's won awards. Honestly, it is the best meal you'll ever have.
Mate, it's all about the pastry with them pies, man.
Yeah.
Puff pastry, mate. Nothing less.
I love it, mate. Puff pastry. And the last one, you're stranded on a desert island and you can only take one musical album. Which one are you taking and why?
Mate, you know what it is? I couldn't even tell you an album. How bad's that? My favourite band, I don't know what the album's called, but I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Greatest hits.
Yeah, is that what it is? Greatest hits.
You could do, yeah.
You could say that one, yeah.
Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers, greatest hits. But mate, honestly, music, I do listen to it when I train and stuff, but not really big into music, you know. I always, you know, when I've been running over the past lockdowns, just been listening to podcasts. That's what I've been listening to. But yeah,
just standard bench pressing business all the way around.
Bench pressing business, mate, yeah. Waiting for my time to come home.
No, Buzzy, mate, really appreciate you jumping on. It's been great to have you. Loads and loads to take away for the guests, no doubt. For all of the listeners, if you want to subscribe, just click down in the bottom corner. You get an update every single time we have an episode released, and your notifications will ping off so you can listen straight away. But massive thanks again to everyone for jumping on. And we'll catch you all soon. Have a great day. See you later.
See you, mate.
Done.
What do you think of that, mate?
I fucking enjoyed that, man.
Yeah.
Good,
how good is it to just chat about like your journey and that?
Yeah. So natural, man. It was good.
Yeah.
There's loads to take away from there, man. I didn't know. Like, I've never known anything really about cruise ships except I knew it was selling, but I didn't know how it all worked. So I think that would be good, man, for people listening.
The insight from that you've given to people, because there's so many PTs that want to go on cruise ships that just don't have a clue how difficult it is. You know what I mean? Like,
especially if they think it's a holiday, like fucking hell.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do get to see the world and stuff.
When